and welcome to the Liz Experiment YouTube channel. This is the channel where I share field notes from my journey towards architecting my best life. I am recording to you from Lisle, Washington, which is where I recorded my video last week with friends Kelly and Henry. And I'm here house sitting for my friend Kelly while she's in Spain with her husband. And actually, they may be flying back to the East Coast today to spend time with family there. But I don't actually know the details of that, and I should. But the point of the story is I'm here in Lisle, Washington, again this week, house sitting for them, like I said, and just enjoying summer in the Columbia River Gorge. It is Independence Day here in the U.S., so happy 4th of July for everybody out there watching in the States. And I'm just kind of enjoying that, and I'm enjoying having a long weekend and giving myself a long weekend away from a task list and away from a to-do list. So let's dive right in. What did I learn this past week while here in the gorge? The first thing that I learned this week was that I actually can protect my own energy while not losing the support and love and friendship of the people around me. So more on that, obviously, in the what I worked on section of the video. But yeah, that was a pretty cool lesson learned and a pretty cool part of the experiment. Something else I learned is that I really will get to see and hang out with my old landlords, who are the individuals who rented me the cottage that I first lived in when I moved to White Salmon. Like 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And they're also the landlords who have property in Maui that we house swapped one summer. So I got to see them and hang out at the old cottage where I used to live earlier this week with both of them, and then also with other mutual friends. And that was really cool because one of the things that I was worried about or concerned about, and I think we all kind of feel this way when we move or we start a new job or we do something new, is that the people we enjoy being around and that we care about, we fear that they're going to just disappear. And that hasn't been the case, at least with my friends here in the gorge. So that was a pretty cool lesson learned. A third thing I learned this week was I've mentioned a few times on the show that I have a business partner and a dear friend, Diana. And this week I was reminded how important it is for us to put friendship before business, both to have obviously more fulfilling friendship, but also just to have a better business. So I'll talk about that in a few minutes. And the final, well, this one is kind of like multiple lessons learned and one lesson learned, but I got interviewed to be on a podcast this week by another dear friend of mine. And during that, first getting that invitation and then going through that interview, I learned that, hey, what I'm doing, I think, actually is interesting to other people. Well, forget about if it's interesting or not, because I can't control that. But what was cool to learn was that I think me going on this journey can help other people with their own life's journey. So that was a cool thing to tune into. On the flip, I don't want to say the flip side, but as an extension, like the lesson learned within the lesson learned, is that, and I saw this more than just with the podcast interview, but is this idea of owning, and I don't even know how to phrase it yet, but let me just phrase it and then we can work through it. It's owning and really moving through and with the great privilege that I have to be on this journey. I talk a lot about, I don't know, being in different places and experiencing different things, and not everybody, many people don't have that ability, or I don't want to say that, they don't have that option in their lives right now. I think we all on some level probably have the ability within us to do it, but the options maybe aren't there. And I think that's something that was a theme this week that I want to explore, or that I have been working on. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what I worked on this week. The first lesson learned was the whole, like, I could protect my energy while not losing friends or people around me. And so what I mean by that is a lot of my life, and I think a lot of people are like this. So if you're like this, rest assured that you can not give all of yourself and still keep your friends if they're good friends. And what I mean by that is, I think for me, I'm always trying to make other people feel good when they're around me so that they stick around me, so that I don't end up alone. And I don't just mean relationship alone, because hell, I've been relationship alone for a hell of a long time. So I'm talking about just like alone, no friends, no family. But what I really worked on this week was, let me try to pull back. So, as an example, every month I have a video call with a friend just to catch up and check in. And what I noticed this month was like, as the video call date was approaching, I saw myself going through this. Oh, I should text her and see if we're still on for the date and time. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm always texting her. Like, this is something that's on her on our calendars. Like, if she can own her own energy, I don't have to extend my energy into making sure she shows up. So I pushed through not texting. I didn't text her. I didn't remind her. She didn't show up. I did. And you know what? That's all, it's what it is. That's the answer. Like, we don't need to have these monthly check-ins. Let me step back from that. I don't need to worry about making sure they happen. I'm sure she's still a friend in a certain way. It's up to me to define what kind of friend I want her to be in my life. Of course, like, I believe all of us have that power, and we need to own that power. But I don't need to worry about other people. Other people are adults. I'm an adult. Like, if you want to have a monthly check-in, I'm here. I know that Liz Hubert and you guys watching who know me, if I promise I'm going to do something, I'm going to be there. That's who I am. If other people aren't that way, that's who they are. But I don't need to extend myself to try to make them better, you know? So that was really great. Another example of that is, I had a really, really busy week at work, which was great because I'm working and I'm making money, and that's it's a gift. But there were things I want to do here in the gorge when I'm back. Like, there's a writers group at the library that I participated in when I lived here, and I don't know, there's just things I wanted to get out and do and hike and all of this stuff. And I said, you know what? I'm tired from the long week at work. I'm just going to protect my energy and stay home and sit on the couch and just rest. And so I did that. So far, that's been working really well. You see, I'm not dragging my energy. I'm feeling like really empowered and confident and just good. So that was cool. Another thing I worked on this week was really enjoying myself and being present with, like, the dinner I had at the old cottage with my landlords and our friends earlier this week. You know, a lot of times when I'm around other people, I worry about what they think of me, and do they think I'm going to be weird if I say something, or am I saying the right things, and all of this stuff. And this week, I continued that idea of being present and just kind of like, whatever they think of me, they think of me. I can't control that, but I'm going to have fun and really tune into them and ask them how they are and check in and all that stuff. And that was a really great practice that I put into place. So that was cool. What else did I work on? Oh, friendship first. So in that regard, one of the things that one of the ideas that she had was that we meet a lot for work. We do a lot of work, and we love our work. We're hardworking women. But what she saw, thankfully, was that was taking away from our time being friends. So we've started to put focused, I don't want to say, well, it's focused, but, specifically just friend discussions on our calendars. And we had one this week, and it was a great reminder of why we needed it. I felt so good getting off of the call with her afterwards and just remembering that, she cares about me beyond just what we're doing for work. And I believe that being present for those conversations and having them will make us better at our work, And I think that's a larger metaphor for everybody. Like, if you're not enjoying life, you're probably not going to enjoy work as much as you could. Let's say it that way. So then the final thing that I worked on was this whole, like, wow, realizing first, this is the lesson within the lesson. It's also a practice within a practice. So roll with me on this. But it was this realizing like, okay, wow, I'm getting interviewed for my friend's podcast. My friend's podcast is called The Informed Life, and I'll have links to that when my episode comes out in about a month. But I'll also link to it in this video so that you can check it out beforehand. He's got some great guests that he's released so far, and I'm really loving what he's doing with it. But even just being invited to be on that and to talk about my journey and seeing like, oh, people are interested in this was awesome. However, it also made me realize I need to think more about and get better about focusing my message and what I want, what it is I'm doing and why I'm doing it and what I'm learning from it. So I was, as I had that, after I had the interview, I kind of have been thinking more and more about that. And in combination with that, the main thing that I've been thinking on and working through this week is this idea of, as I said, my privilege to be on this journey. And that's a really hard, sticky place for me to work. Because there's so much that's tied up in that. There's so much that's a part of that that came from both the interview and also I released a blog post this week, and my dear friend Susan responded to that blog post I was talking about in the blog post, and I'll provide a link to it, but I was talking about how I was in the middle of nowhere, New Jersey, and I was considering taking a cab back to New York City. And part of her comment, she had a very long, much more in-depth comment, but part of her comment heightened the fact that somebody who's able to even consider taking a cab an hour through New Jersey is somebody that's in a higher income bracket, or at least has some sort of income to be able to do that. And that made me stop and think, like, what is it? Am I wrong in the way that I'm telling my story? I don't think so, by the way. I think I need to tell my story. And similarly with the interview with my friend Jorge on his podcast, it was, I made this comment about thinking about the week differently. Like, what is a weekend? Why do we have weekends and weekdays? Why aren't they just interspersed or whatever? I'm able to do that because I work from home. I work for myself. I don't have kids. I don't have bills. But the comment could come off as insensitive when I say, what is a weekend? Because to some people, that's all they got. And they're working their ass off trying to, keep their family alive. And the weekend is everything. So what I've worked on so far with this idea of privilege and how, God, I'm just so privileged to be on this journey and be able to do it, is what am I supposed to, or what can I do with that privilege in order to help make the world a place I want to live in? I can't save anybody else. I'm not a savior. I'm not a messiah. I'm not gonna change the world by living on the road. But there's got to be something. There's a reason I have the privilege that I have. Well, I don't want to say that. X that. There's got to be something I can do with the privilege that I have to make the world better. And so that's a lot of what I'll be thinking about going forward. I've been thinking about it a lot while I've been on the road, but it was kind of interesting that this week in two different scenarios, the topic came back up. So honestly, guys, if you have any thoughts on that, like on what I should be doing or saying, or could be doing or saying, forget the should, who's the judge, right? I would love to hear it. Please leave it in the comments below. And I think that's it for this week. I'll be coming to you next week from this beautiful place called the Columbia River Gorge. You see the hills behind me. I get to look at that every morning. My friend's house is just lovely, and her pets are amazing. I can't wait to be back here again and spend the whole week here again. So until next week, happy 4th of July again, and thanks for watching. 2, 1,